Wandering, the opportunity to hear journey stories, experiences from all kinds of people, all walks of life, who show up to share. AJ Rasmussen, your host, and I'm delighted to have you here with us this evening. Soul Wanderings is a comfy, cozy get-together where we meet so many incredible humans, but in the comfort of your own homes. We get to talk about all things spiritual, metaphysical, paranormal, inspirational, motivational, heartwarming, and more. Thank you for joining in with us this evening. There are ways that you can participate during the show if you are interested in doing so. If you're listening live with us tonight, we have the chat room to play in. The chat is hosted on kgraradio.com. And while we wander with our guest, I hang out there in the chat room with you. It's a fun way to interact in conversation behind the scenes. And if you guys have any questions, you can ask them in the chat room and I'll grab them. So type them all in caps so I can see them easily and I'll grab them as time allows. So without further delay, because we had a little late start, let's just begin to wander, shall we? Let's do this. Edie Weinstein is our guest tonight, and she is a journalist, author, speaker, licensed social worker, coach, and interfaith minister. She writes and speaks on topics including relationships, spirituality, sexuality, peace and social justice, consent education, mental health, wellness, addiction recovery, and loss and grief. In addition, Edie is a cuddle party facilitator, a certified laughter yoga leader, and a hug mobster. Right up my alley. I'm so excited. Edie, we are going to have so much to chat about. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Whenever I hear my bio, I think, my goodness, that woman is busy. When does she sleep?
We're going to skip our first break, which means we get some really good time with you without interruption.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I'm excited. So you have so much going on, and I want to hear all about it as well. I'm sure everyone else does as well. But in my show, I like to really get to know the person, like who they are before all of these titles came about. Mm-hmm. So at your comfort level, I'd love to hear who you are, maybe some of your childhood, like what was your life like? What brought you to be who you are today?
Good question. I was born into a family with parents who were married for almost 52 years when my dad died. They had a loving, wonderful relationship. I have a younger sister. Grew up in a suburb outside of Philadelphia called Willingboro. It's one of the original Levittown communities, like Levittown, New York, Levittown, Pennsylvania, and then Levittown, New Jersey. And it was kind of an idyllic childhood where on a summer day, my parents let us loose. We ride our bikes around town. We go to the pool. We'd hang out at the park. This is obviously before the days of cell phones. And the neighborhood parents always kept an eye on the kids. And we were outside most of the time. You know, we'd come home for lunch, and then we go back out and play again. We come home for dinner, and it was safe. It was, as I said, an idyllic childhood. And it gave me the grounding to be able to do what I'm doing now. I also grew up in a very nurturing, touchy-feely kind of family where touch was by consent. For a lot of people, and this ties into some of the work I do, for a lot of people, they didn't grow up in that kind of household. Touch was either limited, abusive, coercive, sexual, or not by consent. So right. My parents raised me unconsciously, not intentionally, but raised me to do the work that I'm doing now. So the other thing that comes into play is that I grew up in a Jewish family, culturally, religiously, spiritually. We go to synagogue, but my parents also encouraged us to go to church with Christian friends. And my best friend was Catholic, so I go to church with her. My parents wanted us to learn about other traditions. And there was a community event every year in our town that was a multicultural event. So I learned about other traditions as well. And it kind of fed my interest in spirituality.
It sounds like a dreamy childhood.
Yeah. However, given all of that, I still became a codependent. For those of you that don't know what codependence is, most people think of it as somebody who enables an addict or an alcoholic to continue those behaviors, but it expands to the idea that a codependent is a caregiver, a people pleaser, practices what I call savior behavior. And I learned to do that really well, despite the fact I had no addiction in my family, no abuse in my family. My parents had an intact marriage. Everybody got along with everybody. There wasn't any yelling at home. And I remember one time I was working at a nursing home as a social worker, and the chaplain, who was a friend of mine, said, "How did you get like this?" And I said, "What do you mean like this?" She said, "So codependent." And I realized that where it came from was that my parents were so good at everything. They had their sweetheart relationship. They took good care of us. They both had full-time jobs. They volunteered in their community. They made everything look so easy. So I figured I better be able to do that to be able to keep the kind of love that I was getting in my childhood. So that kind of wound its way through my life as well.
What was the point in your life where you realized like codependency wasn't really as healthy as you would think? I mean,
Well,
some of the
well,
characteristics seem healthy, but as you know, you and I both know, and many others, that it's not.
yeah. Well, where I realized was probably in my early 20s. I worked for what's called the South Jersey Council on Alcoholism, and I started doing drug and alcohol abuse prevention work, teaching, and that's when I learned about what codependence was. Then I
Mhm.
started realizing that I don't have to earn love, and I don't have to um, keep from like losing love, because a lot of people grow up in a family where they feel like they have to earn love and approval. I didn't. I got it, but I didn't want to lose it. So I became adept at figuring out what it is that people wanted before they even asked for it, and I would give it to them, because who wouldn't love a caregiver? Who wouldn't love somebody that
Right.
anticipates your needs? So I became pretty masterful at it. And one of my career paths is as a therapist. So those skills have served me well,
Mm.
and I use them when I'm working with clients to be able to see past the blocks that we carry in our lives.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm very familiar with codependency.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, I mean, it is a blessing
Yes.
and a curse. So, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just as insidious an addiction as substance abuse, because even though we're not necessarily ingesting unhealthy substances, our relationships, and I'm saying our, meaning I'm speaking for myself, but from other people who would label themselves or identify themselves as codependent, that
Mhm.
our relationships are not, as you said, as healthy as they could be, and they're based on the belief that we have to earn love.
Mhm.
When I teach workshops on codependence, and one of the concepts I focus on is that codependence is about not knowing where you stop and somebody else starts. Boundaries. That's a big word. Yeah.
Very, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you really dove into it and really learned about it and how to. I, I I guess I could go as far as saying heal from it, but you also still use
Well,
it in some way.
Well, I would say heal through it, because I
There you
don't know that I
go.
will ever heal from it completely. And I take my inventory every day. I look at, I can't say I work all the 12 steps every day, but I definitely take my inventory and I ask myself, am I doing this, whatever this is, because somebody asked me to do it and I'm afraid they won't love me if I don't? Am I doing it because I can, because I have the skills to do it? Am I doing it because I think the other person needs me to do it, that they're broken somehow?
Mhm.
Today I was watching one of my favorite TV shows. I wouldn't say I'm a Trekkie, but I love the Star Trek: The Next Generation. Have you watched that
I
part of
don't
Star Trek?
I don't watch any Star Trek, actually.
Oh, okay.
It's
Okay. Well,
crazy
there's
the industry I'm in, I just never got into it.
mhm. That's okay. Well, one of my favorite characters is Counselor Deanna Troy, and she's the Enterprise's ship's counselor. And she's got a special skill, where she's from a culture called betas, they're betazoids, and she's like a human betazoid hybrid. So her human side has feelings and sort of like Mr. Spock, who's a Vulcan human hybrid, but she has the ability to read people. She has the ability to use her what I call spidey sense to read people. And in the episode I was watching today, and it's rerun from 10, 15 years ago, she loses that ability, and it's like somebody losing a limb. And I thought, could I be an effective therapist if I didn't have my special skills? And I realized that those skills developed over time. Maybe I was born with them, I don't know, but they developed over time. So all of the skills that any of us have, we get to cultivate. So, my codependence informs a lot of what I do. So I check myself every day. Okay, why am I doing this? What's my motivation?
Perfect. That is so good.
Thank
I
you.
noticed when I started checking in with myself how things changed. My whole reality changed. How I perceived and received all of it. It's just so different when you actually take inventory. I love
Mm-hmm.
that you brought
Oh,
that.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely it is. Because I really feel it's important. I can't speak for anybody else, but it's important for me to walk the talk. Because I work with clients who count on me to be in integrity, and I count on myself to be in integrity. If I'm not doing what I'm suggesting that they do, then it's inauthentic.
Mm,
So that feels really important, to be true to myself and to be in integrity with my clients.
mm. I just love that. It's so beautiful. I was
Thank
looking
you.
over your website. You really have a lot going on. And I was like,
Hmm.
I wish we were closer because this would be someone I would really like being around and having
Oh,
in my space and I'm a hugger. I'm a huge hugger. I love
okay.
hugging. And I was like, Hug
Marvelous.
Monster? What is this?
Yeah. Well, Hug Mobsters Armed with Love it was created, formed 6 years ago. Not this weekend, but Valentine's Day weekend. I brought a group of friends to 30th Street Station, which is a big train station in Philadelphia, and we did a free hug splash mob. And at noon, we unleashed ourselves on the train station, walked around asking people if they wanted hugs. We had free hug signs. And a friend of ours named Ron brought his guitar, and he walked around singing the song, Give a Little Bit. Do you know that one? Give a little
Yeah.
bit of your love to me. And repeat it over and over. I can't tell you how many times in an hour. And we approached people and asked them if they wanted hugs. Most said yes. A few said no. And it was my first leap into something that felt a little scary. Now, the hugging part wasn't scary, but the approaching strangers part, and what if they got upset? And what if they said no? That was the codependent people pleaser that I didn't want to step on anybody's toes, literally or figuratively.
Right.
And what I've learned is that it's okay for people to say no to me. I don't like it. I don't know if you like people saying no to you, but
No,
I
absolutely not.
nope, nope, nope. But at this kind of event, because consent is so crucial, it was okay that they said no. So one of the people that approached us was a gentleman who was an Iraq War vet, and he told us he had survivor's guilt, and because he was the only person from his platoon that made it home, and he thought about ending his life, and he said, "Until I met you people, can I join you?" So of course we gave him a sign, and he walked around hugging people.
Oh,
And in that period of time, we hug people from all over the world because it's a hub. It's sort of like the Grand Central Station in New York. People come from all over the world. And what I notice is that different cultures have different values when it comes to touching strangers. It was an Orthodox Jewish family, and I didn't approach the men because they're not supposed to touch women that they're not related to. So I knew that these gentlemen were not going to hug us. There was a couple getting married, and they let us videotape them, but they didn't hug us. And again, it could be, I don't know if it's their culture or just they weren't comfortable with it.
mm,
So by the time we left, I thought, hugs save lives. We've really got something here. Friends started calling us hug mobsters, like flash mob, hug mob. And I
yeah.
thought, ooh, mobsters, I don't like that association because it brings to mind mafia and violence and guns and drugs. So I started calling us hug mobsters armed with love. And 5 months later, on my way home from the gym at 55 years old, June 12th, 2014, I had a heart attack. And nobody expects that at that age, of course.
No, no.
So um, it was like an oh my goodness moment, and like a moment that said, okay, now what? So as part of my cardiac rehab, I walked around my little town of Doylestown, Pennsylvania, and I thought, why don't I combine the hugging with the walking? Because hugs are not just emotionally heart friendly, they're cardiac heart friendly. And when I hug people, I try to hug them left side to left side, heart to heart, so our hearts synchronize. And I try to hug them for at least 20 seconds because supposedly you need that amount of time to connect. Virginia Satir, who was a psychologist, postulated that we need, I don't know where these numbers came from, but that we need minimum of 4 hugs a day just for survival, 8 hugs a day for maintenance, and 12 hugs a day for, that's optimal. Unless I'm doing the free hugs thing, I don't get that many hugs a day.
No,
How about you?
not at
Yeah,
all. I would love it,
yeah.
though.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Hugs
So,
are
oh,
healing.
God.
It's
Oh,
amazing. It really is when I don't know if it's like the human touch or the
mhm,
connection or the attention or maybe a little bit of all of it, but you're
mhm.
it's there's a poem, it's called It's Wondrous What a Hug Can Do. I don't know
Uh-huh.
if you
It's- Oh,
read it,
yeah,
but
yeah, I've seen it. Yep,
I always
yeah.
think of
And
that. I'm
really
like, I just need a hug because it's
yeah,
true. They
yeah.
really do help you in so many ways.
Oh, absolutely. And hugs generate the hormone, the cuddle hormone called oxytocin. And
Yes.
then, what I tell people is that the more oxytocin, the less OxyContin. And because it is a pain reliever. When people hug, they feel, their bodies feel better. They
Yeah.
relax. It's a stress reliever. It reduces blood pressure, helps people sleep better. It connects people one to the other. And part of the reason I do this, besides health, is that connection. We live in such a divided world. I was going to say divided country, but divided world as well. And hugs bring people together across all of the artificially designed limitations. So when I hug people, unless they tell me, I don't know who they voted for in this country. I don't know what their religion is. I don't know what their politics are. I don't know what their sexual identity is or orientation is. It's just people.
Mhm.
And I have hugged, I've lost track, thousands of people. And I don't really want to keep track of the numbers because for me, it's more about the presence with somebody.
Right.
The other thing that a friend who also does free hugs, his name is Billy Park, and he's in Massachusetts, is that he reminded me that even though more people are comfortable with handshakes and hugs, we spread more germs with handshakes than hugs. So hugs are healthier in that regard too. Um,
And they're probably,
so
yeah, healthier, but also more sanitary.
yeah, that's what I mean.
Just because
They're hygienically, they're
yeah,
hygienically healthier.
yeah.
So he encourages people to hug any and every chance they can. So I've hugged in Philadelphia, in New York, in D.C., in front of the White House, in Virginia, in Maryland, in Portland, Oregon, in Canada, and then in 2018, I hugged my way across Ireland, and
Oh
it
my
was just remarkable. Yeah, I
What
love
was
it.
your most memorable
And
experience in Ireland?
the most memorable, I always tell the story about this young man whose name I don't remember, but I will remember his face forever. He was in a park in Galway called Ayres Square, and it's Eyres, Ayres Square Park. And he was probably in his late teens, early 20s. He was shirtless, and he had dreads down past his shoulders. And he had this big stick with a string attached to it that blew bubbles, where he would dip the string into this container of soapy water, and he'd blow these massive bubbles, and we would dance through them. And then he gave me a hug, and then he told me, my hair is dyed purple a lot of the time. He says, "You come from the land of the purple marshmallow people," and I thought, okay, he's smoking purple marshmallows, but he was just a really, fun guy.
Yeah.
So I hugged him, and then I went on my way, and then I came back through the park again, and he motions me over, and he says, "Come here, come here," and I said, "What?" And he says, "I'm wearing patchouli oil, and I want to get it on you." So he's rubbing his head against my shoulder like a kitty cat. so that was fun. that was one of my favorite parts was meeting this guy. But I hugged people on the streets. I hugged people in pubs. There was a bicycle race, and somebody got off their bicycle after the race, came over and hugged me. Children did as well, and that's something that I tell people about when I hug children. Is I ask the parent, I said, if it's okay with you and okay with your child, can I hug your child? If the parent says yes and the kiddo says no, I don't hug them. And I tell the child, your body belongs to you. Nobody touches you without your permission. So I'm doing consent education with the tiny humans that way too.
Perfect.
So
That
it's
is
a
so
little bit
good.
of everything. Thank you.
That is so important too. There are so many parents who are like, go hug so and so and really force the
Oh
issue.
yeah. Yep.
Oh, yeah, that eats me alive because, there is no consent in that, and it's so important that you are educating those around you, especially with what you're sharing with everyone. I love that you do that. It's so beautiful. While we're
Thank
on
you.
the topic
Yeah.
of touch, because you're talking about, um, the hugging, you also facilitate cuddle party workshops,
hmm
which I find really fascinating. I
Thank
I
you.
happened to
Go
listen to
ahead.
your very last radio show you ever did today. I just clicked on there so I could, kinda get a feel for you, and, it was about cuddle parties, and it was just I looked at it completely different after hearing that because, as a human, you're gonna come up with your own idea or perception of what an actual
hmm
cuddle party is, but it
Oh
sounds like
yeah.
such a beautiful experience. Why don't you share a little bit about that with us?
Sure, thank you. Cuddle Party was created in 2004 by two relationship coaches, Reed Mahalko and Marsha Paczynski. They were based in New York at the time, and now they're on the West Coast. And Reed was a massage therapist who wanted to have a party for his massage therapist friends because those of us who do massage don't often get enough ourselves. So he
Mhm.
invited a whole bunch of them. But he also invited some non-professional friends. And they said, oh, we can't massage the professionals. We have no clue what we're doing. He says, okay, folks, change of plans. Come dressed in PJ, sweats, or yoga clothes. Bring pillows, blankets, and teddy bears, and we'll have a cuddle party. And he was thinking, puppy pile, snuggly, kind of just casual gathering. And then he created the rules, the 11 rules of cuddling. He created some icebreaker exercises and made the focus not just about touch, but about boundaries, about communicating what you're
Mhm.
yes to in life and what you're no to, and about changing your mind and about setting appropriate boundaries for yourself. And if you go on the Cuddle Party website, it's www.cuddleparty.com. You'll see the rules and you'll get a sense of what the event is about. So people that come to it, you have to be an adult, come from all walks of life, all ages, anybody from 18 on up, all gender presentations, all sexual orientations, and life experiences. Sometimes people come with a partner, sometimes they'll come by themselves. There are people that are in loving relationships whose partners are not as touchy feely as they are, so they'll send their partner and say, why don't you go and have a good time?
Mhm.
So anybody could enjoy a cuddle party. Now, what some people say is, ooh, icky strangers, who wants to cuddle with strangers? And what I say to them is that there are no icky strangers here. If you look around the room, you'll see folks that you would normally see in a supermarket checkout line. People from, every part of the world, people who speak different languages, because touch is a universal language.
Mhm.
People who've come to it because they have social anxiety. There are people that come to it who are trauma survivors. And what I tell folks is that it's not therapy, but it has therapeutic value, and that I never know what emotions people are going to walk in there with or what experiences they're going to walk in there with. But I can tell you that out of the over 400 cuddle parties that I've done since I was certified in 2006, um, people float out of there on an oxytocin high.
Oh,
So
I'm
it's a
sure.
remarkable experience. Normally, there's between 20, 30, 40 people there. Last weekend, and this is Martin Luther King weekend 2020, I was at a conference in Washington, D.C. called Interfusion. And it was about yoga and dance and spirituality and sexuality. And it was a massive, over 600, we're estimating between 600 and 700 people cuddle party. And I co-facilitated it with another facilitator named Monique Darling. And it's a lot, I would say a little different. It's a lot different from the smaller ones because it was a shorter period of time. And because there were so many people there, the actual interaction feels different. But it's an incredible experience. So anywhere
Oh,
in the world that you are, we have 175 certified facilitators. You look up cuddleparty.com and you'll see where there might be a cuddle party in your area.
I was doing that while you were talking. I was surprised to find one in Utah. I thought for sure
Ah,
we
okay.
we wouldn't have that available, but here we are.
Yeah.
We have one.
Is it anywhere near you?
Yeah, I mean, it's in Salt Lake, so it's a half hour away.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Okay.
but I would love
Is
to get
that
someone.
mhm.
I actually have a mind, body, spirit shop that I own and run during the day. I think it would be an amazing thing to have in my space. I'm gonna look
Oh,
into that.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
So I don't know if that's
spiritual
Monique
healing and things like that
in
would be perfect.
yeah, so in Utah. So I wonder who the facilitator is. But yeah, by all means, get if you can get somebody in your area to come out. We travel. The facilitators travel. So yes, let's see who's in Utah.
Yeah,
Okay.
you'll have to we'll
And
get back to that because I think it would be pretty neat. I know, in the line of work that I do, there's a lot of people who could really benefit from something like this
mhm,
on so many levels, all of which
yeah.
you have named here in
Hmm.
your response. But what a rewarding position to be in to
Hmm.
facilitate something so magical.
Oh, absolutely. Whenever I'm facilitating a cuddle party, I look around the room and I think how cool this is to be able to do this. What a gift this is. And I bless Reed and Marcia every time I do it for creating this because it's a worldwide phenomenon. There were, as I mentioned, over 175 people all over the world who do this. And we're all trained, certified, vetted, making sure that everybody that does this passes pretty strict standards in terms of what people what people do.
Mm.
So yeah, my certification was in 2006. So it's just a remarkable experience. So I encourage everybody to check it out. But again, it's not for everybody. I have very wonderful cuddly people in my life who would never go to a cuddle party because it's just not their cup of tea. And it's fine. And I don't take offense at it. I encourage them to check it out, but totally up to them.
Yeah, to each their own. It
Yep,
really is
absolutely.
it really is neat though that there are things like this that do exist. There are so many people who don't have the opportunity to have these experiences because they don't have people around them to do that with. So it's neat that they can
Hmm.
reach out and have that type of a community to be able to do so.
Yep. Hmm.
So
Yep,
cool.
absolutely. Yep,
And
absolutely. I never take it for granted.
I just love it. It's really neat. Moving on, like we're talking about touch, and the physical aspect of the things that you do. You also do laughter yoga, which is something
Hmm.
I've never heard of. There are all
Well,
types of
laughter.
yoga, but that is not one that I've heard of.
Right. Well, the first thing to know is that laughter yoga is not yoga on the mat. You don't have to get all twisty but it is, excuse me, considered light aerobic exercise.
Mm.
Excuse me. It was created 24 years ago, maybe, by a cardiologist in India. His name is Dr. Madan Kataria, and he and his wife Madhuri, who's a yoga teacher, created the modality. They used to get together with friends in a park in Mumbai, and they'd tell jokes and they'd laugh, and it felt really good. And then they ran out of jokes. So he thought, what if we can laugh at nothing? What if laughter, just for the sake of laughing, does the body and mind just as good as laughter at jokes and humor and comedy? And she said to him, the same muscles that we use when we practice yoga, the diaphragmatic muscles, are the same muscles that we use when we laugh. So I'm going to ask you, if you can, and your listeners too, put your hand on your diaphragm, like above your belly button, and just laugh. Can you do that?
On
Can you just
cue.
laugh?
I laugh,
Okay.
laugh. It's contagious.
Oh, it is. Okay. So what happens to that part of your body when you laugh? What do you notice?
That your diaphragm is moving.
Yeah,
Your
it's
body's
moving, sort of like
moving.
Santa Claus, jelly belly, and it gets tighter. So you can feel it there. Then what they did is that they created what they call the 40 core CORE exercises, and think of them as like improv exercises. So laughter yoga is done with enthusiasm, usually in groups, but you can do it on your own, where you walk around and you practice these exercises, which I'll tell you about in a moment. And the idea is a sense of childlike play and wonder. Supposedly, children laugh 100 times a day, and adults laugh maybe 15, 20 times a day. And kids don't need a reason to laugh. Grown-ups might say, well, I need to feel good to laugh. And the other is absolutely true. The other way around is that when you laugh, no matter how crummy you feel, you're going to feel better. So there's also clapping involved, because we have acupressure points on our hands. So when we clap, it stimulates the acupressure points. It's a remarkable exercise, and it's for adults and for children. So some of the exercises, for example, if you're walking around a room, you make eye contact, shake hands, and laugh. Or you use the Sanskrit greeting, namaste. You put your hands in front of your chest in prayer pose, and you bow and you say namaste, and you laugh. You can pretend you're walking your dog or stepping in dog poop, and you laugh. You can pretend you're taking a shower and you laugh. One of my favorites is mental floss. So if you can imagine that you get all this gunk stuck in your head and you want to clean it out just like you would with dental floss, imagine this huge container of mental floss, and you pull the string out and you stick it in your ear and you pull it through your ears and you laugh. And it lasts, the laughter yoga workshops are usually about 45 minutes. And it is, as I say, continued light aerobic exercise. And you're going to work up a sweat. It's going to feel good. And part of it, to help bring you down a little bit, is a meditation. Not, I'm saying bring you down, but to help ground you. And the idea is at least 10 minutes a day of sustained laughter is healing. So it works with anxiety, depression, pain. How it just helps people feel better, sort of like the touch. So it's almost like a massage for the inside of your body when you laugh. So I encourage people to do it on their own. You can go to the Laughter Yoga website, which is laughteryoga.org, and you'll see some videos that Dr. Kataria made, and other laughter yoga leaders all over the world, because there are, I'm trying to think how many, in 108 countries, something like a few thousand laughter yoga clubs. And I don't know how many actual certified leaders there are, but it was the training that I took. I got to earn 16 social work continuing education credits. So
Oh,
the
wow.
social work licensing board decided it was legit. So how much fun is that, to earn continuing education credits laughing?
It is the best medicine.
Yeah, oh,
They don't
absolutely.
say
And
that for
just
no
like hugging,
reason.
it brings people together. The universal language.
How did you get involved in these last 3 things? The hugging, well, you kinda told us about the hugging, but the
Hugging.
cuddling and the laughter yoga, I mean,
Right. Okay.
those are
Well,
just, like,
cuddle party.
the box a little bit.
Okay. Okay. Well, cuddle party. I went to for the first time in, I think, March of 2005. It was created in 2004. So I went up to New York with a friend, and we went to cuddle party that Reed and Marsha were offering in New York City. And by the time I left, I knew two things. I wanted to bring cuddle party to Philadelphia, which is near where I live. So Reed came in 2 times that summer, and I also knew I wanted to be a certified facilitator. So I'm number 27 out of something like 175
Oh,
that are
wow.
certified. So that's how I got into that. And then with the laughter yoga, I had heard about it through a facilitator out in California named Jeffrey Breyer. And a friend of mine, a local friend named Peggy Tileston, had suggested that I come to the weekend training. And I didn't have time to go to the whole weekend. And frankly, it wasn't on my radar. but I did go to the intro, the Friday night intro, and I liked it. And I said, okay, it's fun, and but I really wasn't driven to take the training, so I went to the ones that Peggy led, and I really enjoyed it. So fast forward a few years later, and I was invited to go to World Laughter Day, which is the first weekend in May. And there's always an event held in the Philadelphia area. And I met facilitators there. And I said, you know what, this would really be fun. Next time it comes around, I'm going to do it. And I did. Now, the other thing that I learned is that it's a really good pain reliever. I went to the training with plantar fasciitis. Do you know what that is?
Yes.
Or have you ever experienced it? It hurts.
Yes.
It's like
It's
walking on broken glass. No,
very
it's
painful.
not fun. So I thought, how am I going to go to this training and be on my feet for a 16-hour training in this much pain? By the end of the training, the pain was gone and hasn't come back. And we're talking about 2 years ago, coming up on maybe 3 years. So it helps with that as well. And just remarkable. And it's something that I do the laughing every day. I did a laughter yoga workshop at Interfusion as well, at the conference in last weekend as well. And I do laughter yoga with my individual clients. I do it myself. One of the other things that I do is that I teach mindfulness for little kiddos in daycare centers. So we do some laughter yoga there.
That is so much fun. I am so
Oh,
glad
yeah.
that you're bringing all of this into my awareness. I didn't even know any of this was a thing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So again, if folks want to look it up, laughteryoga.org, and you can laugh along with the videos and be part of it. And also, you can find, just like with the Cuddle Party, you can find laughter yoga groups all over the world.
That just blows my mind. It's so neat that this is a thing. Thanks for bringing it into my
Absolutely.
awareness. And I'm sure there's so many of us who don't know about it. And with it being facilitated all over the world, that's great because listen, we have listeners from all over.
Yep. Yep.
Do you have one that you prefer over the others?
When you mean one of the workshops,
Like, is there, yeah, do you like facilitating one more than the other? Or do
I would say Cuddle Party because I've been doing it for so long,
Mhm.
and Cuddle Party just celebrated its 14th anniversary. So I've been doing it for 13 years, and it's how you do something for so long, it's almost a no-brainer. I just launch into it. Not that I'm not conscious of what I'm doing, but it's so natural for me now. So I do them every few months, mostly in the Philadelphia area, and then in the D.C., Virginia, Northern Virginia, Maryland area. So that I've done one in California, but mostly on the East Coast.
Oh, good stuff. So you have your hands in several other things, and I just don't even know where to start with you. So you just have so much. I think it's fantastic. I'm the same way. I'm like all over the place. But
Mm-hmm.
you are a best-selling author, and you're also a speaker, which kind of go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the book is called The Bliss Mistress Guide to Transforming the Ordinary into the Extraordinary, and they're what I would call chicken soup for the soul stories,
Oh,
um, slice of life kind of stuff. And it came out in 2011, and a lot of them were just life events that occurred. And the last two chapters were about my hospice journey with my mother. My mom died in 2010, right before the book came out. And the last two chapters talked about the things that we experienced together. She was living in South Florida. My dad had died 2.5 years before she did. And the last 6 months of her life, I was able to go down there 7 times. And we would have conversations about everything, including one night we were watching Beetlejuice. And I said, I don't think that's what the afterlife looks like. She said, I hope not. And I'm thinking that it probably doesn't. Uh,
hope
we
not.
also talked, yeah, we also talked about what she thought would happen when she died. And she had congestive heart failure. So she said, I don't know. And I said, you think Daddy will be waiting for you? I don't know. How about your parents? I don't know. And I said, well, when you do know, come back and tell me. And she said, I'll come back as a butterfly. So when she died, the day that she died was November 26th of 2010. I was up here in Pennsylvania, and I got the call. So I headed down to Florida. While I was on the plane, I met this wonderful flight attendant. Her name is Julie Landis, and we just started talking because I had a book on my lap that was written by an author named Sark. Do you know who she is? Susan Ariel, Rainbow Kennedy. Are you familiar at all with her work?
Oh, I am not.
Yeah, look her up to all capital letters, SARK. And her work is poetry. It's colorful. And she wrote that book that I had on my lap was called Glad No Matter What. And it was about the idea that even in the midst of grief, we can still find moments, pockets of gladness. And she wrote it after her mother died, after her 16-year-old cat died in her arms, and a relationship ended. So I have the book on my lap, and Julie, who had this bright orange reddish hair, said, "Oh, I love Sark." And again, a lot of people don't know who she is. And I said, "Well, do you want to borrow the book while we're in flight?" So I loaned it to her, and then I went back to the galley, and she said, "Well, why are you, where are you going?" And I told her that my mom had died, and she started crying, and I thanked her for her support. And she said, "Well, I am here to support you." And I think it was the anniversary of the death of a friend of hers, or the birthday of a friend who had died. And I told her the butterfly story. So she hitched up her skirt and she showed me a tattoo of a dragonfly, like a close cousin to a butterfly. And we just bonded over that. She's living in West Palm, West Palm, and she at the time had gone back and forth between Philly, which was her hub initially, and Florida. And whenever she would come up here, we would try to get together. So I got to see her a few times, and she got me a butterfly scarf that when I wear it, it's like hugging my mom and hugging Julie. So that was the first part of the butterfly, was the flight. When my sister and I arrived, my sister came in from New Jersey. My mom's neighbor, who was kind of a surrogate daughter for her, said, "I have a story to tell you girls that it's gonna blow your minds." So my parents lived in a condo, and right after my mom died, her neighbor Diane and another neighbor whose name just went right out my brain, had started cleaning the condo in preparation for our arrival. And Myrna was the other neighbor. So Myrna says to Diane, she's pointing to the door of the den in my parents' condo, "That door just closed by itself. I'm too freaked out to go in. You go in." So Diane walked into the room and saw on the back of the door that my mother's suit that she wanted to be buried in was still hanging on the door. So she said, "Oh, that's just Selma reminding us that that I forgot the suit." So she got the suit to the undertaker. The next day, my sister and I go to the funeral home, and one of the most loving things my parents did to make it easier for us is they had pre-planned and pre-arranged funerals. So this is South Florida, not typically butterfly season in November, and there were butterflies everywhere. They were flying all over the place. And I'm an interfaith minister, so I officiated at both my parents' funerals. And the day of the funeral, there were butterflies all over the place. One of my mom's caregivers, who she had given a pin to, was wearing a butterfly pin. She gave her some for costume jewelry, and she was wearing a butterfly pin. There was a butterfly dipping and diving into the grave. Then the next day, I go to my mom's bank because I was the executor of her estate, and you know how you can set up an online banking presence, so so you can bank from from anywhere,
Right.
and you pick an image so that it's yours. Well, the first one that popped up was a butterfly.
Of course.
So a lot of butterflies have shown up
She's
in my life
letting you know.
since then. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So she's visible. So I encourage people that if they have loved ones who've died, that they talk to them if it's comforting for them, and that they know that they're still present. And I've had all kinds of messages from people who've passed.
I love those messages. I think that
Mm-hmm.
um I had a stepmother who raised me past 5 years ago, and I have similar experiences, but with a
Mm-hmm.
dragonfly. And,
Yeah.
I believed in an afterlife. You just kind of have this gut feeling of your truth. But
Mm-hmm.
after that, my experiences with her and my grandmother, who passed 6 months within the same time, um, are so significant. There's no way you can chalk them up as coincidence, and it just brings you so
Oh,
much
mm-hmm.
comfort and peace knowing that they're just so close. They're just right here with you. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
It's so
absolutely. Yeah, I had a dear friend who died a year ago. Andrea was a home care nurse who died of cancer. And when I officiated at her service um, in the spring, last spring, it was a windy day, but it was held in an interfaith community that I'm part of, and the door was closed. My daughter-in-law had just walked in. She was a little late, but she made, the door was shut tight. When I played the song at the end, and I'll tell you the name of the song. When I played the song at the end of the service, the door blew wide open, and we said, "Okay, there goes Andrea." And it was the song called "Keep Me in Your Heart for a While." It's a Warren Zevon song. Are you familiar with it?
I don't think so. Mm-mm.
Yeah, look it up. "Keep Me in Your Heart for a
I'm
While."
taking lots
He
of
wrote
notes
the
with
song.
you.
What's that? Say it again.
I'm keeping a lot of notes with you. So
Yeah,
keep me in your
and he's Lawyers, Guns, and Money, Poor, Poor, Pitiful Me, Werewolves of London. Those are his best known pieces. But this one he wrote when he knew he was dying of throat cancer. And I played it at my mom's funeral, at my dad's funeral, at Andrea's, at an uncle's funeral. It's a multi-purpose, for anybody, any age. So it surprised me that my mother said, "I want that song in my service." So we planned my mother's funeral together because she knew, had a sense of what she wanted. So death is something that I don't fear, partly because I faced it. I didn't die when I had the heart attack. I wasn't unconscious, but I could have died. And I thought, you know what? When it's my time, it's my time.
Yeah.
I still have more work to do, or I wouldn't be here. But what I've also learned is that everybody is on loan to us. There's nobody that, I say that everybody we now know and love was once a stranger, and everybody that's in our lives now will one day die or leave us, or we will die or leave them. And that helps me appreciate them all the more because I know it's not forever.
Absolutely. Well, thank
Yeah.
you for sharing that with us.
Oh,
We are at
absolutely.
the
My
top of
pleasure.
the hour, so we're going to be taking a quick little break. But when we return, we'll continue our wandering with Edie Weinstein. This is so neat. Stay with us.
You're listening to the KTRA Digital Broadcast Station.
It's a whole new way of life.
Salt Lake City, Utah. Hudson Valley, New York.
Ew, yuck. They're unhealthy and gross. Bugs, I hate bugs. We keep a clean home, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. From contact, it kills bugs. Plus, Orange Guard kills hidden bugs and keeps new bugs away for weeks. I know. I use Orange Guard. Plus, all of the ingredients of Orange Guard are on the FDA generally regarded as safe list. Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It promotes a healthier planet, and here's a bonus. Orange Guard cleans where it's sprayed. Plus, it comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard.
You can get Orange Guard at Ace Hardware. And listen, folks, Orange Guard is tougher than bugs, and it's safe to use. Go to orangeguard.com. That's orangeguard.com.
Feeling sluggish, bloated, gassy, and, well, want some relief? Try Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. Our unique blend of all natural herbs go to work on your digestive tract, giving you So before you try our super strength formula. It does a great job removing intruders that jack you up. Thousands of people use Life Change Tea every month, so try it because you're gonna love the way you feel. And here's a little pick-me-up. Order now and receive 10% off your first order by entering in 10 today in the coupon code. That's 10 today in the coupon code. Go to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Enter 10 today in the coupon code for your 10% discount. Wow, feeling good never felt so good. Get some tea love at getthetea.com. Changing America one tea bag at a time.
Author Kathleen Watts, a.k.a. Thought Continuum, shares a double abduction experience in her book, Catch Me If You Can, a story of alien abduction and culprit plunder. This 1976 true life account of a close encounter in northern Utah near Hill Air Force Base. Imagine driving home from the movies with your spouse when your car suddenly stops working, and it's in that very same moment that you realize you are the only thing animated. Catch Me If You Can, the 5th anniversary edition with lead-in material for the upcoming release of Payback is a Glitch from award-winning author Kathleen Watts. Get your copy today. Log on to thoughtcontinuum.com. That's thoughtcontinuum.com.
Hi, I'm your host, Smokey Colbert. Filling in for Smokey, because after 75 years of...
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Turns out there's much more to say. Nearly 90% of wildfires are caused by us humans being careless, dumping our used barbecue coals willy-nilly. Guess the song was wrong. We did start the fire. That's why I respect Mother Nature and her trees, whether coniferous or new car scented. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
For years, the KGRA digital broadcast station has been your contact for live UFO paranormal talk radio worldwide, bringing you the top names in research and investigations 7 nights a week. Our listeners connect to the KGRA on various platforms like TalkStream Live, TuneIn, Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and many more. Now, you can stream your favorite paranormal talk radio shows with our new fully integrated custom KGRA mobile apps for Android and iPhones. Listen to your favorite paranormal talk shows from any mobile device 24/7, free with smartphone or tablet. Utilize custom features to access news, show pages, archives, contests, events, and live interactive chat rooms. Set show notification alerts and never miss your favorite live programs. All free and available to download in Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Hello, welcome back to the show, Soul Wanderings. I'm AJ, your host, and you are listening to this beautiful show on KGRA Digital Broadcasting, Salt Lake City, Utah, Hudson Valley, New York. And Soul Wanderings is played here on the station and replayed at several other places. So you can choose like iTunes and iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Spotify, TalkStream Live, and of course YouTube. So make sure you guys check out the official KGRA Radio on YouTube, and that's where all of the latest show archives are being placed. And everyone knows YouTube. So it's super simple. Go ahead and try it out. Listen to my show, listen to all the other amazing shows hosted here on the station. Tonight we are wandering with Edie Weinstein, and she's a snuggle bunny. I love it. I wish that we were closer because I feel like we would have some really great conversation, and I'm down to experience my first cuddle party. I think that would be amazing. I do focus on laughing as much as possible because as all of those amazing benefits you shared with us, it is a thing in my life, and it does change and shift your whole reality. So this has just all been really yummy for me, and I know our listeners are enjoying it as well. In fact, I am glad that we were introduced, and we were introduced by a past guest of mine, Dr. Gary Sawyer, and he was or is the author of Safe to Love Again. And I believe I had him on the show in like September or October time. Great guest, great guest. And he introduced the two of us, thought you would be great on the show. And here you are. So shout out to Gary. We really appreciate the
Absolutely.
connection.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah, and
yourself,
Gary is one of those part of what I call my overlapping soul circles. We've never actually met physically, just like a lot of people have Facebook friends that they've never met, may never meet. I hope we meet someday, but we are kindred spirits. We have a lot in common. We were introduced by his editor, Joan Schablin, and she thought that we could be of mutual support, and we definitely are. He's been encouraging in my life. So I appreciate the connection with you through him.
yeah, so thanks. That's really good. And speaking of relationships, where you actually work with a lot of people on many different topics, relationships are one of them.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I've been a therapist for something like 40 years. So all of my work is about relationships. So I'm a therapist. I'm a minister. I write about relationships. I used to have a radio show a few years ago called It's All About Relationships. And one of the things that I have come to accept, and there's an article that I wrote about it, is I'm 61 years old, and the article for the Huffington Post is called, At 61, I'm coming to terms with the possibility that I will remain single. Now, that would have been totally unthinkable a few years ago. That my husband died 21 years ago, and I've had what I call short-term relationships, lovers, friends with benefits, but never another committed long-term relationship. And I questioned, okay, what's this about? I've done all of the things that people suggest. Making the list of the qualities that you want, doing the internet dating thing, doing feng shui in the house, creating a vision board, going places where there are people who have similar interests to mine. I'm quite visible. And yet I think, okay, what's going on here? And what I realized, I really believe it's divine timing. I believe that people come into our lives whenever they do, for whatever purpose they do. So I'm not pushing it. I love my single life. I love making my own choices, coming and going as I please, not having to answer to anybody else's needs. And what I say in the article is not having to worry about getting somebody else out the door, that I leave when I'm ready to go out the door. And yet there's still a feeling of, I'd really like the companionship, the consistent companionship. And it's just a journey, just like anybody else is going on, that there are people that I know that are happily single and happily coupled. There are people that are miserable single, and there are people that are miserable coupled. Mm-hmm. So I think it's more about the people in a relationship than necessarily the form of the relationship itself. And when we can love ourselves fully and completely, then we welcome into our lives people that can love us as well. So I'm excited about that possibility, because I meet new people all the time, and who knows what role they're going to play in my life.
It's always a surprise.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a question, chat room. Excuse me.
What's that? Say it again.
I do have a question from the chat room.
Oh, cool. Oh, please.
Does the Reverend Weinstein believe religion fosters better relationships, or does the secular approach make for more and better friends?
Well, that's an interesting question. I don't tell anybody what to believe spiritually, first of all, because I believe it's an inside job. I also differentiate between religion and spirituality. For me, religion is the doctrine and the dogma and the structure and all the thou shalt nots, while spirituality is the connection between our hearts and the God of our understanding. I have what I call Godversations all the time, where I talk to the divine in whatever form, and I look at God as an energy and not an entity. So I don't know that there's any one right way to do friendships or to have a connection, but if you have a spiritual practice, use it as a way of healing yourself, as a way of connecting with people. There are plenty of atheists that are good-hearted people that don't have to have a religious box around their activities to be virtuous, to have good values. So it's an individual thing. So I don't know whether the person who asked that question is wondering for themselves what the nature of their relationships. So that would be interesting to hear from them as well.
Mm. Yeah. We get some really great questions in the chat room. Um, and we have another one that they're asking
Hmm.
about the Seven song, but I'll reply to that because it's actually Warren Zevon, Keep Me in Your Heart.
Oh, we're on Zevon.
Set
What
Zevon.
about?
They were just wondering what the name of the song was.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
I just wanted to tell them now before I forgot to type them back because they're listening
Hmm.
right there in the chat room. I
Yeah.
was telling you over the break, the lyrics, it really is a great song.
Hmm.
I can see how that would be an appropriate one to play
Oh,
during
yeah,
this time.
absolutely. Yeah, and when um, he was on the David Letterman show before he died. He was diagnosed with, I think it was throat cancer, and David asked him a question. He says, "Warren, knowing that you're going to die, is there, a special message, some insight or inspiration that you'd like to share with people?" He says, "Yeah, I enjoy every sandwich." So I think that's the name of an album that he created. It might have been that might have been the one that was on. I'm not sure, but think about that. That if you could enjoy every sandwich, what would your life be like? Like, are there things that that you, AJ, would do if you knew that that was your last sandwich?
I actually have looked at mortality in the face a couple of times at my young age, unfortunately. And there are a lot of things I do differently now. I,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not as serious as I used to be, and I definitely don't take things for granted like I used to. And I do look at
Mm-hmm.
people with way less judgment. And I mean, if anything, I just feel like every day is a gift. And so I do the best I can every day. So to answer
Mm-hmm.
that question specifically, I already feel like I'm doing the best I can and I have everything I need. And if I were to go today, I would feel good in my heart
Mm-hmm.
knowing that, I received everything that I could possibly dream
Mm-hmm.
of or
Yeah. Oh,
be
yeah.
around and
Yeah,
meet
because
people.
I absolutely agree with that. And I ask people, if you could know the day of your death, would you want to know? I would. I would like to know. But the reality is, I don't know that I would do anything any differently than I do now. But if
Then
you could know,
what would
would you
be the
want to?
purpose of knowing? I don't think I'd want to know. Mm-mm.
Uh huh.
Because
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the way that my brain works, I would, as much as I feel like I'm go with the flow and very present in the moment, I would always have that in the back of my mind and not be able
Mm-hmm.
to really soak in the present moment as much as I would otherwise.
Yeah. Would you be focused on, when's the other shoe going to drop? When am I going to check out?
Yeah, see, and you don't know
Mm.
until it happens, so it would be hard for me to say. What about you? You said you would want to know.
I would want to know, partly because, as I said, I'm not afraid of death. I'm curious about what's on the other side. I really believe, based on my own life experiences, that there is something beyond this life. I've watched a number of movies about life after death. One of my favorites, two of my favorites, one is called Resurrection with Ellen Burstyn, and that was probably from the 1970s, 80s maybe. And it's about somebody who dies and comes back, and she has these healing qualities, and she's able to help people heal from all kinds of illnesses.
Mm,
And then the other one is called Made in Heaven, and that came out maybe late 80s, early 90s, and it's Timothy Hutton and Kelly McGillis, and
nah,
it's about
I've seen that one.
Anthony. Yeah, yeah.
A long
A couple things I love about it is that it's the idea that heaven is whatever you think it is, that you can imagine yourself anywhere in heaven and you can imagine whatever it is you want and it shows up. Imagine that. Now,
time.
how cool is that? So if people haven't seen that, and definitely see it. And there's a beautiful song that I think Neil Young wrote called "We Never Danced." It's also about the connection between people, where what happens is Timothy Hutton's character is leaving his hometown to go out and make his way in the world. And on his way out, out of town, he sees a mom and her kids go into a lake, and he dives in to rescue them. They survive, he dies, and he ends up in heaven, where he meets Kelly McGillis' character, who has never been born on Earth. So she's a new soul. And they, of course, fall in love and decide to get married, and then she's sent back to Earth. And he's just devastated. And he petitions this one character to send him back so they can find each other. And Emmett, who's the character, says, we'll send you back, and you have 30 years to find each other. And if you don't find each other by then, you'll never see each other again. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to spoil the ending, but it's just a beautiful piece about how souls who connect are meant to connect in some way. Mm-hmm. So that's a beautiful one about life after death. And then I mentioned Beetlejuice, but again, I don't think that's what life after death is like. Hopefully not.
Yeah, let's just cross our fingers on that one.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think Tom Petty wasn't Tom Petty involved?
Yep, Tom Petty was in that too. Yep. Yeah, Tom Petty was in that movie too. And yeah.
Oh yeah, your memory is amazing. All of the names and songs, like I'm just typing as fast as you're sharing. I just believe all the things you remember.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's not as good as it was. I used to have a phonographic memory. My husband would call it that, where I could remember the lyrics from every song I ever heard. Now at 61, I have more of what I call my middle-aged moments, and it's not as easy to remember things. No. And it's scary. Frankly, it's really scary because I think, okay, what if I forget this? Or, so I talk my way through all kinds of things. And thank goodness for the GPS that gets me where I need to go. Yeah. And I don't know, you're probably a lot younger than I am, but do you ever walk into a room and forget the reason for it?
Well, all of the time, but I have a wonderful thing called short-term memory, so that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But I forget things quite often within seconds.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But what helps me, and there's something about the neurological connection that if you go back to the place where you are, the room that you were in, when you have the original thought, you can remember it. So I'm not sure the reason for it, but I do that often too. I also have a friend who actually was the one that introduced me to laughter yoga. My friend Peggy, who I used to work with in a psychiatric hospital, and she lives with her sister, and they would forget stuff. So one day, one of them said to the other, "What's the name for like sleeping attire?" And the other one said, "Pajamas." Yeah, pajamas. That's it. So they have a pajamas list on the refrigerator with common words and the definition of them. So I often pick my friends' brains for those kind of answers. If I don't know the answer, so what's the name for, this thing or this experience? So I was fascinated. A number of years ago, I heard a story on NPR where this scientist was interviewed about memory, and he had created this computer program where he could dump the words to different books in and see how many times that word was repeated. So he loved Agatha Christie. She was his favorite author. And he would pour the contents of her books into his computer program. And he started noticing an interesting phenomenon toward the end of her life, like the last few years of her life, where he saw repetitive words and nebulous words like thing instead of describing whatever it was. And he thought, you know what, I bet she has dementia. But he didn't want to make it public because he didn't want to ruin her reputation. So he waited until after she died and to publish his paper. And I think her family confirmed that that's indeed what she died from. So memory can be a tricky thing. I love remembering songs. I love remembering experiences with people, and I love hearing stories because that's how we learn, is our family history and family stories.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. I'm a new grandmother now. My grandson was born a week ago yesterday, and thank you. So, I tell my son's stories. I've started telling the little guy's stories, even though, again, at a week, he's probably looking at me like, what the heck are you talking about? No, but I want him to know family history. And, I learned it. I grew up in a family where both of my grandmothers were in my life. Both my grandfathers had died before I was born, but one grandmother died when I was 4, another died when I was something like 13 or 14. But I would love hearing their stories. And my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, was one of 13 children. So there were lots of aunts and uncles and cousins around. So we would hear stories about them. And it's a treasure. Our ancestors are our treasures. So I'm grateful for that as well. So that's one of the reasons why I became a storyteller, is that I like sharing that experience so people don't forget.
Yeah,
Did you ever
it's
see
so
the movie Coco?
important.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was
Did you
just
ever
saying
see the movie
it's so
Coco?
Coco?
Yeah.
Yes, the cartoon one. Yes, the animated
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Love it,
Yep.
love it.
Yeah.
And it's all about storytelling.
Hmm. Yeah, I just saw it with, when I was at my son and daughter-in-law's house when I was helping with the baby. And I'd never seen it before, but I like the concept that there are 3 deaths that occur in our lives. One is when, we stop breathing and our brains stop working. The other is, I think, at our funeral. And then the third is when people forget us, when we're no longer held in memory. And that was kind of the concept in the movie. And I think about that I talk about my grandparents. I think about them. I wonder what it would have been like to have lived back then. And, being a grandmother, I'm thinking, I want to take the best of my, my grandmothers and use that for my little grandson. And I want to let go of what I called smother love that my paternal grandmother exhibited, that
Right.
she was overprotective. So I want to encourage him to be his own little person and to decide who he is without, us telling him this is who you have to be. So
Oh,
that's,
what a
that's
beautiful way
something I
to
want to
raise.
encourage him to do. Thank you.
It really
Thank
is.
you.
That's such a healthy balance. And I really admire anyone who wants to encourage another human being to flourish and grow into their own shoes and really
Hmm.
be who they are. That show was so great, and I really like how um they do talk about the 3 deaths and how, it gets more into the Day of the Dead celebration and
Hmm.
meaningful that really is. And
Right.
it's a great reference. If anyone hasn't seen it, I really encourage it. It was such
Hmm.
a
Oh,
heartwarming,
definitely.
such a
Yeah, and
heartwarming.
it was also about forgiveness. It was about healing.
Yeah.
It was about honoring the ancestors and the different
Yeah.
generations. It was about, what else would I say? Um,
Love.
truth to love, about truth telling, that things
Yeah.
are not always as they appear to be. And it was a look into, Latino culture, because that, the Day of the Dead
Mhm.
is a way of honoring in that culture, honoring the ancestors
Yeah.
and the heart to heart connection that families experience. So
And
that was
then keeping
beautiful.
their memory alive.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm grateful for that. I grew up in, as I said, in a Jewish culture, where my parents would go to synagogue with us, but we'd also have family gatherings where people from all different aspects of our lives were welcome. So at the Passover Seder, we wouldn't just have Jewish friends and family. We would have people that, that were part of our extended family. And I appreciated that about my parents, that they were inclusive, they were welcoming. So that's something that I, would like my son, who's now an adult, he's 32, and my grandson to experience, is that there's a whole world of people out there to love. That's something that, people tend to be isolative and lonely. A lot of my clients express that there really isn't. I've had clients say that the only people that they'll ever know and love are the ones that are in their lives now, and once they're gone, there's nothing left. And I said, what, you can meet people every day. I love talking to people in supermarkets and, just saying hello to them, because people matter. When they feel like they matter, they're healthier, they're happier, they're a greater force for good in the world. So I encourage folks to go out there and just talk to people, strike up a conversation with them. You never know what you're going to learn from each other
Well,
and how
that
you're going to positively influence lives.
right, exactly. And I was that speaking of influencing lives, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I thought you were done. I
No,
apologize.
no, it's fine.
Radio's
Okay.
great that way. But you never know who's struggling, and with the suicide rates going up and things like that,
Yeah.
a lot of them, you know, are making that choice because they aren't being seen or they feel like they aren't, being acknowledged in any way. And so a little acknowledgement goes a long way. You literally could change the course of direction in somebody's life just by smiling at them. And it's such
Oh,
a simple
absolutely.
gesture.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was in Portland, Oregon 2 years ago, maybe, and I was doing the free hugs thing, I gotten out of the car and this man approached me, saw my sign, and he said, I have to tell you how, on target this is. He said, a friend had just died of cancer and another friend had just ended their lives. So this man was definitely in need of a hug. When I was doing a free hug stroll in Philadelphia, a friend of mine was videotaping, just following me around, and I always do a hug stroll on what I call my cardioversary, the anniversary of a heart attack. So I was doing one in Philadelphia, and this beautiful Muslim woman approached me when I asked her if she wanted a hug, and she wags her finger, and she's wearing full hijab, except her face wasn't covered, just the headpiece and the gown, the robe. And she says, and wags her finger in my face, who wouldn't want a hug? And she could see her kind of waggling her face and waggling her finger. And I said, that there's some people that don't want them. And she wags her finger again, and she says, even those who say they don't want them, they need them. And I thought, if only people saw that in each other, that we need to connect heart to heart with people, because it is kind of a lonely planet. And if you see somebody as an other, then you're more likely to want to hurt them. If you see them as being just like you, you're more likely to want to love them. So I encourage people, to the best of their ability, to not see the other person as an other, that they're just like you, regardless of culture, country, gender, identity, sexual orientation, whatever it is, that everybody deserves to be loved and accepted.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you for sharing that with us.
Sure,
I
my
know
pleasure.
several people needed to hear that tonight.
Thank you.
We're going to take our last break for the night, and when we return, we'll have just a little more time with our beautiful guest.
Oh,
We'll be right back, you guys.
Author Kathleen Watts, aka Thought Continuum, shares a double abduction experience in her book, Catch Me If You Can, a story of alien abduction and culprit plunder. This 1976 true life account of a close encounter in northern Utah near Hill Air Force Base. Imagine driving home from the movies with your spouse when your car suddenly stops working, and it's in that very same moment that you realize you are the only thing animated. Catch Me If You Can, the 5th anniversary edition with lead-in material for the upcoming release of Payback is a Glitch from award-winning author Kathleen Watts. Get your copy today. Log on to thoughtcontinuum.com. That's thoughtcontinuum.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Hey, Dr. Phil here. I help people solve difficult and trying personal problems every day on my TV show, but there's one problem that's just got me stumped: childhood hunger. Nearly 16 million children in America struggle with it. That's 1 in 5 kids who may not know where their next meal is coming from, despite the fact that there's more than enough healthy, nutritious food out there to feed them all. Now, I don't know about you, but that is unacceptable to me. Luckily, the Feeding America network of good people is out there collecting surplus food and giving hope to hungry children and their families at local food banks all across the country. But let's face it, they can't do it without your help. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
Why is it we're not very good with our health regimen until it's too late? We don't put oil in the car until the engine blows up. When the body's out of balance, your health is not so good. Give your body some love. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Try our Life Change Tea, which cleanses you from harmful intruders. A clean colon is one of the ways to bring the body in balance. We also carry organic supplements to help you get where you need to go. So do your body a favor. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. You can even visit our sales page to save some dough. Does anybody call money dough anymore? Anyway, if you're looking for short, helpful health tips, go to YouTube and punch in Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. So, log on to GetTheT.com, shop, get balanced, then learn some cool tips at Health Matters Now. You'll be glad you did. That's GetTheT.com.
The new KGRA YouTube channel is now live. Subscribe and be sure to hit the bell to stay up to date on the latest major announcements, alerts on trading topics, exclusive live streams, live video cast, and that's just the beginning. Be the first to know what's coming from the KGRA TV channel in real time. So keep it locked in to your contact for alternative talk radio on the internet. Your KGRAradio.com.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Soul Wanderings, heard here on KGRAradio.com. We're wandering with Edie Weinstein tonight. Such a delight to have you here. You are multi-talented, and I'm really enjoying the story time with you. It's been really fun, and I was just looking at my computer. I have about 15 tabs open for me to review after the show of all of the suggestions. Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And you know, the conversation continues through the break. A lot of people don't get to, well, nobody really gets to hear it but the producers. Mm-hmm. We were talking about Gary's book again, and you did want to bring something up about a part in the book that you resonated.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, the book, again, is about attachment theory and the ways that people attach to their initial caregivers speaks volumes about how they interact with other relationships, not just romantic relationships, but work and home and friends and family and coworkers. And my favorite story from the book, and I think the characters, or the person's name is Paul, but I'm not 100% sure. And it's about how our beliefs so strongly shape our perception of reality. This is a gentleman who was twice divorced, I believe, and Gary was working with him individually, and his belief was that even when you think you can trust people, ultimately they turn on you and you can't trust them. So Gary asked him what that's about, And he says, well, I had this memory of when I was probably 4 years old. And my father, who never laid a hand on me in anger, was the most loving father in the world. I had this memory of him hitting my legs. And Gary couldn't get him to explain more than that. And he said, after that, he had this embedded belief that people can't be trusted because they're going to turn on you. So after that, this man and his brother at a workshop that Gary was teaching. And the man, I believe, stood up and told his story about his dad. And the brother looked at him incredulously and said, "You don't remember what happened?" And he said, "No." And he said, "You were 4 years old," and his brother was something like 5 years old or so. He was 9 years old at the time. And their family is camping, and they're by a campfire. And the little boy's legs, pants, catch on fire. And his father was hitting his legs to put the fire out so he didn't get burned. And all along, this man believed that his father was hurting him. And I don't remember what happened after that story, but, whether he ended up in a healthy relationship. But think about that. Any perception we have becomes our chosen reality. So if you believe that men can't be trusted or women can't be trusted based on a specific experience, you may carry that throughout the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. And I choose to look at my own experiences and say, okay, how much of this is valid? I like to do a reality check. And if I can't do it myself, I'll ask other people, okay, can you tell me how much of this is true? There are folks in my life that I trust implicitly to be able to point out, okay, this might not be working so well. What do you want to do with it? And I have people that are on call 24/7, and I'm on call 24/7 for them. So it's nice to have a tribe of supports around you. And whether they're family or friends or coworkers or neighbors, that there's somebody there to help you pick up the pieces in your life, because we can't do it alone. We need each other, and that's sometimes hard to accept, especially for someone who's codependent. That it's hard for me to accept that I need to lean on other people sometimes. I had to do that after the heart attack. The other thing that I didn't mention was the workaholism. That's my twin addictions of workaholism and codependence, that I worked my way into a heart attack. I was working maybe 12 to 14 hours a day and sleeping 5 to 6 hours a night. I was working out at the gym 5 or 6 times a week. I was working as a drug and alcohol counselor in an outpatient rehab. So I was working with people that had pretty acute needs. And I was eating what I thought was a healthy vegetarian diet, but a lot of it was the prepackaged Boca burgers, veggie burgers, that kind of thing, high in sodium, high in cholesterol. So I had to change everything after the heart attack. And what I said is, the woman that I was died that day to give birth to the one that's talking to you now, and she had to die because she was killing me. And I didn't want to live that way anymore. I couldn't afford to live that way anymore. And I decided also that I didn't want to let the heart attack go to waste. So I made sure that I made positive changes that I wouldn't have before. And that meant taking naps. That meant listening to my body. Not doing what I thought I was supposed to do out of obligation, but doing it because I was an absolute heartfelt yes to it. And letting other people do things for me that I thought, I shouldn't need that kind of help. After all, I'm a therapist. I should be able to handle this.
Right.
The other lesson that came through that was that when people have a life-challenging illness, whether it's cancer or a heart attack or an injury, it's trauma, that your body and your heart and your mind experience trauma. And instead of dismissing it, you can embrace it and say, all right, this is what my body is doing right now. How can I help myself through it? And how can I help other people? Mm-hmm. Because we can look at ourselves as victims, which I choose not to do. We can look at ourselves as survivors, which is great, but I also like the idea of being a thriver. And that means that not only am I healing myself, but I'm reaching out to help heal other people who may not know how to do it themselves. So that to me is being a thriver, is paying it forward. And there's so many people in the world that need that support. Elders in particular, there are a lot of older people who live alone, whose families are not there for them, who've retired, who don't get a lot of nurturing support. So I encourage people, check on your neighbors, make sure that they're okay, talk to them. There's a John Prine song called "Hello in There." I don't know if you remember that. Again, you might be too young, but that was from the 1960s.
Tab.
But so you're looking it up, "Hello in There." Yeah. So I'm an old hippie, so I love that song. But you think about that where people are now living longer. It's sort of like the Golden Girls, that the four of them decided to bond together and take care of each other. Yeah. So anybody that has that kind of community, if you don't have children or you don't have parents, be that for each other, be each other's surrogate parent and surrogate child, because we need that to continue on in the world. To have people that look after our needs, that we look after their needs as well.
Oh, yes, so good. I really believe that is such a huge thing that we have forgotten as humans is the connection, and that we really are here to help one another. And we've just gotten so disengaged through technology or whatever reason it is, our own choice, whatever that looks like. We are so disengaged, and having that connection and allowing others to help us and helping others changes so much about our human experience.
Yeah. And, I've heard it said that we're not just humans having spiritual experience, but spirits having a human experience, or vice versa. I forget which it is. So if we're able to balance those two realities for ourselves, then, it's not like we have to go around being preachy, but it's walking the talk. It's about following your passion and purpose. And I encourage people to ask yourself, what's my passion and purpose? What am I curious about? What do I want to learn more about in my life? And how can I use that to help other people? Whether you're an artist, a writer, a healer, a parent, a child, whoever you are, how can you take what you were born to do and help other people with that? And because of that, you'll never be bored. I guarantee that the more you're out there in the world, the more you're of service, the more you learn about what floats your boat, what turns you into a human sparkler, the healthier and happier you're going to be. And the better the world's going to be because you're in it. So I encourage people to really embrace their value, their importance in the world.
I love that
you said you never know.
Human sparkler. That is a really good one.
Yeah. So I attempt to live that way, but sometimes I forget. I call it spiritual amnesia, when we forget who we really are. So I encourage people to take a look inside and say, who am I? I remember hearing that story years ago. I was at a conference, and this woman said she had her first spiritual experience at age 3, where she looked in the mirror and asked that question, who's in there? Like, who's in that mirror? And she became more of who she was because she was asking herself that question. We're not who our families tell us we're supposed to be. We're who we decide we are. And it's not always easy to claim that part of ourselves. But I encourage people to look within and say, okay, who am I really? I'm not my identity. I'm not my addiction, my illness, the heart attack. Those are just factors. They're just qualities that I embrace in my life, but they don't have to define me any more than anybody who's listening. Their challenges don't have to define them. And they get to ask themselves, what do I want to do with all this information? Who do I want to evolve into? I don't believe that we're ever fully enlightened. It feels like a work in progress. So how can I embrace all that I am. So it's a remarkable experience to to live that way. So I'm thrilled to do that.
Powerful
So what?
questions.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
human
So what brought you to the work that you do?
I'm sorry.
I said, what brought you to the work that you do? What
Uh,
what
I
brings you joy
actually
in what you do?
had a near-death experience, and
Mhm.
specifically in my experience was told what my purpose was.
Huh. Okay. Do you want
Um,
to share that?
spiritually, I wasn't anywhere like I am now. I didn't know what I believed in. I wasn't sure if there was something after this. And I questioned everything. I wasn't happy in life. There was trouble after trouble. I was attracting a lot of negativity. I was a negative person. Um, but it's funny because I have people say I've always been positive, but I never looked at it that way. I'm a way different person now than I was 10 years ago after this
Mhm.
experience. So, um, once I had this experience, I started really like, what happened to me? What does this happen to other people? What does this mean? Is this really true? Did I have a dream? Just started asking a lot of questions and digging deeper, which led me to different books, which led me to different groups in my community. And it just snowballed from there. And doors started opening for me. And I knew that once I started working on my own healing process, that the message that was shared with me was to assist other people in their healing journeys was completely true for me. I didn't feel it at the time because I didn't know what I know now. So, or then when I began to help other people. And when I began to help other people, I started finding purpose. I started finding reasons why I wanted to be here. And because, life was hard. Life is still hard at times. It's just life. We're having these human experiences. And like you said, it's what we do with them. What choices are we going to make from the experiences that we're having? Are we going to, be negative about it? Are we going to grow from it? Are we going to be a victim, or are we going to thrive? So it pretty much is, broken down really simply
Mhm.
in that
Yeah.
answer. I don't know how else I can say it in such a short amount of time, but life is
Mhm.
interesting. It really is. And I've had a lot of amazing experiences since and because. And I look at life a lot differently now than I ever have, and it changes every day.
Yeah, and that way I know I'm never bored. I know that when I wake up every morning, I set an intention to have extraordinary experiences and connect with amazing people. And every
Yeah.
day I do. I have no clue what that might look like, but I'm open to it. I'm open to meeting new people every day. My father grew up in South Philadelphia, which is kind of an eclectic neighborhood, but a multicultural neighborhood. You think Rocky, the movie Rocky, that's where that character lived.
Mhm.
And he would talk to people everywhere he went. He'd always run into somebody that he knew no matter where we went. So I inherited that from him. I also learned other bits of wisdom from my parents. My father would say they put their pants on one leg at a time, just like you do. My mother would say walk in like you own the joint, with head held high and confidence and
Mhm.
making eye contact. My father would also say your life is in the hands of anyone that makes you lose your temper. What angers you controls you. And he was a bus driver for a lot of his career, so I'm sure his buttons got pushed.
Yeah.
But what he learned is that he doesn't have to let anybody else drive his emotional bus. So I've learned that as well. And there are times when I lose it a bit, and then I remind myself, okay, what do you really want? How do you want to express yourself in the world? So he was, both of them were good teachers for that, and they've both been gone quite a while. He died in 2008, and she died in 2010. So being an adult orphan is no fun, but I still feel them very present in my life.
Oh,
They're
I'm sure.
definitely with me. So I'm
They sound
tremendously grateful for that.
I'm glad that you're able to have them so close to you and know that as your truth.
Hmm.
And they sound like incredible people.
They were. They were pretty cool. I tend to idealize them, but they were pretty cool people. I never heard anybody say anything bad about them. So that's that's a good thing to acknowledge. So I'm grateful, that we chose each other as parents and child. So that's a real positive thing.
You make that statement there, and you brought it up earlier about how we um, may run into each other again in different lifetimes, like the movie Made in Heaven that you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like we're all part of a soul family, like we're always in each other's life after life, just in
Yes,
different,
I do.
showing up differently?
Yeah. I think we're soul pods. I don't know who coined that phrase, but I think we are all part of that. We call them overlapping soul circles, where we connect with people. Where one of my favorite concepts is Anamcara, Anamcara, and it's a Gaelic term that means soul friend. And it's where when you meet somebody, you recognize and say, "Oh, there you are again. How long has it been since we've connected?" So I have a lot of people like that in my life, where there's an instantaneous recognition that there's some greater purpose for our connecting. And who knows, that might be part of why we connect. Or there might be something that we're supposed to do together that we wouldn't have done otherwise. So it's pretty exciting stuff. I'm thrilled to be part of your soul pod. So that's a cool
glad
thing.
our paths crossed. You really have
me too.
been a delight.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm grateful for the time together. If people want to learn more about what I'm doing, they can connect via my website. They can connect via my website, which is www.optimystical, OPTI-MYSTICAL.com, and I'll explain where that came from. I have messages that come through in either dreams or meditation, and this one came through that said, "You're not just an optimist, you're an optimistic who sees the world through the eyes of possibility." So people can look at my website and get a sense of the stuff that I'm doing. I'm also on Facebook, EDIEWEINSTEIN. You can also look up, Hug Mobsters Armed with Love, and you can learn more about the free hugs work. And I encourage people, wherever you are, to do free hugs in your communities and everywhere you are. Make your own signs, make a T-shirt, go out and ask people if they want hugs. And as we've said, you never know whose life you're going to touch by doing this. So it's all a blessing, and I'm tremendously grateful for it all.
Well, thank you for showing up the way that you do in the world and here with us this evening, being present and vulnerable and authentic and sharing your truth with us. It really has been a beautiful experience to have.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. And I wish you tremendous success in your show, and everybody whose work whose lives you touch with your work is tremendously blessed. So thank you for inviting me to come play.
Thank you. It's been a lot of fun. And thank you to our wanderers tonight. You've been very active in the chat room. It's been great to have you, and to all of the listeners out in the world and all of the replay listeners. I appreciate your support. Next week, just so you guys know, I will not be having a live show. My son is joining the United States Army. He just got sworn in, and he'll be leaving for quite a few years. So next week, I'm going to be spending some time with him, and we will continue our live shows back again on February 12th. So thanks, everyone, for being here with us tonight. Again, I appreciate you so much, and have a great night, Wanderers.